Don't stress, live life one day at a time. Don't drink or drug and you'll be fine.
Hey, welcome back. Today I want to talk about all the gurus that are out there on different platforms, and this one, when it comes to sobriety, getting sober, staying sober. Quite a few of them out there. So this past weekend I was up in New York visiting my grandkids, and normally I don't have much time to do anything when I'm with them until it's time to go to bed and I get to relax a little, and I'll pick up my phone and check emails and do a little scrolling on Facebook and YouTube. Well, when I got to YouTube, I noticed that on my feed, not on my channel feed, but on my regular feed, there's a lot of podcasts there regarding getting sober and staying sober. And as I was scrolling, I kind of noticed too that a lot of them had similar titles, which I found interesting. So then I decided to pop in and check a few of them out. And I realized that maybe one or two of them were taken from one person in one podcast to the other. I noticed that a new one that just came out kind of had a similar tone, title to one of mine, which was fine. I really don't care. But it was interesting because I'm learning more as I do these podcasts. But for me, these podcasts have always been about trying to help somebody get sober, stay sober, maintain their sobriety in order for them just to get out and enjoy their life. I would love for people to keep coming back and checking out some new content, but just like I did years ago when I left AA, I didn't look back, man. I just went out and enjoyed life. But there was part of me that was still curious on how people thought, why people do things, why people don't change certain behaviors if they needed to change them. So that was always been an interest. But when it came to drinking, I was done. I understood, like I've said before in my podcast, I want to try to get people to understand completely why they shouldn't put drug or alcohol in them. Because I can't make that decision for them. I wish I could, but my whole purpose is to get you to understand why you should never put alcohol or drugs in you. Because I believe once you thoroughly embrace that and you understand why you can't put alcohol or drugs in you, you're golden. Because nothing's going to make you drink or drug again. That's why I always say I don't drink no matter what, and no matter what means no matter what. If you do drugs, of course I don't drink or use no matter what, and no matter what means no matter what. There's no excuses. You say that over and over again, day in and day out, after a while, you have nothing to worry about. When temptation comes, that's not you. Drinking's not me anymore. It used to be years ago. It's just not me. It's no big deal. But we make it a big deal. Sometimes people make it too big of a deal because there's all this fear that gets thrown out there. Now, remember in the meetings of AA, they use the fear tactic a lot. I don't know if they meant to do it. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But if you don't go to a meeting every day, you're going to drink. You should sponsor. If you don't get a sponsor, chances are you may drink. And the list went on and on. If you don't do this, you'll drink. If you don't do that, you'll drink. If you do this, you'll drink. So it was always the fear-based, which I didn't care for. But then I realized something, and I might have shared this in a different podcast, but I realized if you're afraid to do something because you're afraid you'll drink again, there's a couple of things. Number one, you haven't figured out yet why you shouldn't truthfully put alcohol in you. You may say you did, but if you're fearing alcohol, you haven't figured that out yet. You need to get to that point where you have. Number two, alcohol still has control of you. If you're afraid of alcohol still has control of you. I'm not saying if you're afraid of it, meaning if you put it in you, then you're screwed, in my opinion. Just like I am. If I put alcohol in me, I'm screwed, because if I get my buzz going, I want my buzz. I don't care if it's been 31 years. That buzz comes, I'm off to the races, and I don't feel like going to the races. But I understand. I mean, just like with me, there's certain foods I used to love to eat. There's certain foods now, those foods I can't eat. It just screws my stomach up. So I don't eat them. There's times I wish I could. I might be someplace and I see a pizza with everything on it, and part of me says, go for it. And then the other part says, dude, it's going to mess you up like you won't believe. And I'm like, I don't want to be messed up. For 20 minutes, 15 minutes to enjoy a slice of pizza, 10 minutes, whatever. I don't need to be dying the next day, so I don't do it. So it's the same thing with drinking, right? I don't do it. I know what it does to me. I don't want it to do anything to me anymore. So you got to get to that point. And I think a lot of people miss that on some of the, other podcasts that I listen to. They're more or less, wanting people to keep tuning in, and they put stuff out there. 10 reasons you shouldn't do this. 5 reasons this will happen. One guy's an expert on how to quit drinking. I've never met an expert yet in all these years on how to get somebody to quit drinking. Hopefully he is an expert. I'm certainly not. The only thing that I know that works perfectly is if you don't put a drug in you or a drink in you, you ain't getting drunk or high. That works perfectly. Whatever happens in my life, I have to deal with it without putting alcohol or drugs in. That's it. And you know what? You can do the same thing. Whatever happens in your life, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, whatever, nothing says you have to put a drink in you or a drug. Now, there are times where people say, but you don't understand. I do understand. I understand that there's other things you can do besides put a drink or a drug in you. And when people tell me that, they say, yeah, but. I said, but what? I mean, right now, if you want to have a drink, and I said, well, tell me 5 things you can do without picking up a drink. I guarantee you can tell me 5 things. You might say go to a movie, maybe call a friend, go shopping, maybe go play golf, something, whatever. You can come up with 5 things you can do without picking up a drink. Go do one of them. The same thing with a drug. But even if it's, well, I need something to get rid of the pain. Well, your pain most of the time is right here, right? It's between your ears. Figure out what's going on. And in the meantime, just don't put a drink or a drug in you. We make it too difficult. We want people to look at our accomplishments. Like we don't drink anymore. Like, oh, you guys you're so special. Joey, you're so special. You don't drink alcohol anymore. No, just a guy who just knows that I can't put alcohol in me. That's it. So that's why I say you got to be careful what you're listening to out there. If I use it for pure entertainment. Some of them, I hate to say, I didn't find one that actually had any value for somebody new. There were some nice stories, and people would, type in, hey, I've been sober for 2 months, and this is what I did, and blah, 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 which is all great. But, I've seen people who, wanted to pat themselves on the back early on in sobriety, and unfortunately, they ended up going back out again because they really didn't embrace why they shouldn't put alcohol or drugs in. And that's the key. It really is. There's nothing more to it. You have to come to the understanding why you, for whatever reason, can't put alcohol in you. And once you figure that out, you're good. You really are. Think of it this way. It's pretty simple, but maybe it's easier. If you go to a hot stove, and we've all done it, and we put our hand on it by mistake, and man, it hurt like hell. Back a few years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I was doing something really stupid in the kitchen. I was cooking, I think it was hamburgers. I was cooking some hamburgers on top of the stove, not paying attention. I didn't have a shirt on. And I went to flip it over, and the hamburger slipped off the spatula, went all over, slapped down, and all of a sudden all the grease went all over my stomach. And it burned like hell. I had to quickly turn the stove off. I ran into the shower and just sat there and let water hit it. But I was burned up pretty good. Luckily there was no scarring, but man, it did hurt. I'll tell you one thing, I never cooked again in my kitchen without having a shirt on. I learned my lesson. Same thing when it comes to drinking or using. There's plenty of memories you have, plenty of instances. Most of them are going to be bad because you're not going to remember the good and go, yeah, I'm going to quit. And all the bad shit that happened to you. And you're going to realize that if you keep doing what you're doing, or if you pick up again, the same thing is going to happen to you. So you have to get to that point, and I say it all the time, is where you finally say, I'm done. I get it. And you embrace the fact that you're just a person who no longer drinks alcohol any longer or abuses drugs. That's it. Nobody has to know your reasoning except you. As I've said it all along, the only story that will ever keep you sober, you can listen to everybody's drunk stories or, when they got arrested or whatever stories they have. The only story that's going to keep you sober is yours. Embrace it. There's nothing wrong with it. Everybody screws up in life. Everybody makes mistakes. People do it. We do it with alcohol, drugs. Some people do it with food. We know a lot of people. I still know a lot of people who abuse food to this day. They don't have to, but that's what they do. There will come a time in their life, well, sooner or later, they're going to have to go, I got to change something, or they're going to suffer the consequences. It's that simple. I'm not being mean about it. It's just that's what happens. So be careful who you listen to. And remember, my goal here for you is to embrace your sobriety, feel good about you not being the person anymore that you once were, meaning the person who, abused alcohol or drugs, and now you're getting through your life without putting either one in your system. And I guarantee it's going to be a lot better for you. And I know if you've been sober for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't live in fear of alcohol. Just embrace the fact that now you understand why you shouldn't put alcohol or drugs in you, and go live your life. I'll talk to you next time.
Think about your serenity.